Happy Thursday, friends. So excited to be back with you on this, a very strange Thursday, one that looks beautiful from the vantage of being inside, but then you pop outside and it's chilly and snowy. Welcome to April in Virginia, and that's no fooling. So we get a chance to spend another Thursday night together with this little number, which Julie just passed through and poured for me, and it was expressive right out of the glass, so it's a pretty pronounced nose. And I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody thinks we have in the glass. Who's with us tonight? Saw a couple people note that they're here. The Knobses are with us tonight. All right. Susan's here tonight too. Thank you, Susan, for coming back. Les Nobes are in the house, which is awesome. Yeah. Okay. We got a little snow flurry for just a half second, kind of a freezing rain thing that just kind of happened a few moments ago, right as our first guests were sitting down for the evening. And Johnny and Kristen are with us tonight, Peggy and Chris, Kathy with Trish and Andy. It's great. Wow, everybody's coming in tonight. Good. Jan is back this evening. Candy's here. John with Expedition Vintage and Melanie are joining us tonight too. Whew. Kevin is with Candy. It's great. Wow. I think, Candy, you dropped by this afternoon even to get the wine, huh? We need to order some more wine. We've been selling out of it lately, which is great. So thank you all for your continued support. And I know a number of folks have kind of popped in and bought a number of weeks in advance, which is just spectacular. So I appreciate that. Including, I heard Jeff White did that the other day. So I hope Jeff is somewhere floating in the background here. I know that... I think Rachel Martin's going to join us this evening, and Sharon Roeder, you made a lovely comment the other day about this program, and you've been playing along quite a bit, and so we want to hear from you, hear your comments. All three of you kind of wine professionals. It'd be great to have some feedback from you. Eric and Wendy are joining us tonight too. Great to have you. Kathy, good evening. Welcome. Super excited to have you on tonight too, as always. So I walked right past the table as I was getting set up and getting ready, and Julie poured the wine, and there was this just like explosion of kind of a cranberry note that that had a very kind of Proustian olfactory response to a memory response, and I can't quite place it. So we'll have to see if we can work our way through it tonight. I don't have it exactly on the top of mind. So Mindy, welcome this evening, and Erica all the way from Charleston. Cool. Doing a little traveling this week for spring break, I imagine, with those kiddos. Hopefully you're having a great trip down that way, but thank you for bringing the wine with you and for joining us tonight. All right, folks, what do we got? I'm going to put a little bit more in the glass. What do we have? We have a red wine. What color is it? Is it clear? Is it hazy? Where do you put it in our pantheon of wines? It is purple, ruby, tawny. Where do you see it? For those of you that are kind of first time joining us, we were oftentimes referencing this sheet, which we created here at Field & Main, which is sort of a hybridization of a couple of the different wine training programs and certification programs that are out there, plus a bit of our own elements that we've kind of put in. And this is on our website, or you can always email us, and we can email you a copy if you can't find it there. But first and foremost, you're always talking about appearance. We learn a lot about a wine based on its appearance, and we'll spend some time talking about the wine and how it looks. Cool. Jan saying good evening to everybody, and right back at you, Jan. Susan saying clear and purple. Yes. And Erica, thank you for bringing more and more people into the fold. Red, purple, ruby, pretty dense in color. Yeah, it's got a little bit of density to it. Thank you, Candy. Kristen's pointing out that it's ruby with a little bit of a tawny element for her. So we're all across the spectrum here. I got a little purple kind of rim, a little core that's a little bit more ruby. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of tawny. Maybe a hint or fleck of it, kind of a cast of tawny. So a little bit of a browning quality that has some purple character. And Kathy's noting that she can't read through the center, so that helps you. That's one way to determine whether or not this wine might be sort of, as you're looking at this sheet, right? It's saying right here, basically, the intensity. Is it pale, medium, or deep? And if it's deep, you can't really read it through a page. If it's pale, you can see right through it. And medium is what most wines probably are. But what that tells you is more about the actual varietal, potentially what it is, right? So if you've got something like Gamay and Pinot Noir, something thin-skinned that doesn't necessarily showcase a whole bunch of color and intensity, you wouldn't say that this wine would be Pinot Noir if you also described it as having sort of a deep, intense color. And Rachel, thank you. Rachel knows a little bit about Pinot Noir, having made a number of vintages now of her own under the label Oceano from out at Spanish Springs Vineyard in California. So it's exciting. She was in the other day with her husband, co-creator of that wine label. We were chatting a little bit about her Pinot Noir and her Chardonnays that are coming out now, the new vintages. But this is probably, because of how we've described it, not Pinot Noir. So what do you know by something visually without smelling or tasting it? You're already starting to profile the wine based on that. So, yeah, more deep, medium deep. It's got that purplish fleck, a little bit of ruby. So it's not necessarily telling us anything specific to a varietal. For example, Sangiovese might kind of throw off a little bit of an orange cast. Not seeing that necessarily in this. So there's a broader spectrum still of potential varietals, but we're dwindling down and creating the profile that will help us get to our final conclusion. Erica, you're picking up some minerals on the nose. That's cool. All right, let's move into that nose. So we've got quite a bit to talk about from the nose side, because like I said, it's very expressive. Jan's helping us, though, to kind of reorient back toward visual. What are you seeing for the legs? What are you seeing about the body? Are we kind of matching that deep intensity with something that's pretty robust in profile? This has some leg to it. This has some tiers that are forming. It has, especially the top layer, pretty thick layer of it. So it probably has a fair amount of alcohol to it, right? Medium plus. Maybe we're talking, I don't know, we'll see on the palate whether we're up into the high alcohol, but 14, 13.5, 14, 14.5, kind of in that range. Just by visual, it's a guess, but it's an educated guess at this point. Matthew Simmons is joining us this evening. I'm glad you're here with us. All right, what are we smelling? Fruit, earth, wood. What kind of fruit profile are you smelling? Cherry is what Jan's picking up. Ooh, we got a whole bunch of flurries outside. Yes, it's like a kind of a fluffy sleet happening outside right at the moment. That's very strange. Crazy April weather. Black cherries, cranberry. See, that's what, for me, cranberry just exploded out of the glass when I walked by. And the Kestenbaums, you're never late. The party starts when you get here. We're glad you're with us. Kathy picking up some meaty aromas too. Susan got cranberry, blueberry, blackberry, dark cherry, fig, chocolate, coffee. That's awesome. I mean, it's very expressive. It's a very pronounced nose. Robert's picking up some lime. Neat. Underneath all of that, a little bit of lime profile. Cherry and meaty. And Brian, it's clear blue skies in Gainesville. It is a strange kind of Wizard of Oz moment happening outside right now. Yeah, a little gravel. That meatiness is coming out more and more in my glass right now. The cherry, lots and lots of fruit. What kind of character does the fruit have? Is it fresh? Is it dried? Is it stewed or kind of cooked? Is it kind of sweet confection kind of fruit? John's picking up Luxardo cherry. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great descriptor. So it's got the pure kind of candied cherry profile, as well as a medicinal element to that there. Syrupy sugar quality. Rachel, great description there too. It's from a cherry leather. Are you thinking like fruit leather, like a dried cherry quality mixed with red berry? Cranberries for sure there. Red licorice. Wow, there's just a lot going on. You could spend a long time just smelling this wine. It's giving quite a bit. Susan, thank you for that too. Student candied, so it's kind of on the warmer end of that spectrum of fruit. And by warmer, I mean if you think about picking a fruit, picking a grape, but even say picking a cherry. If you pick a cherry earlier, it's going to be tart, and so you have an early ripened cherry. You have a ripe cherry that's perfectly sweet and kind of balanced with a little bit of acidic tang. Then you have sort of a late pick cherry that's kind of falling apart and almost masticating a touch. And that's got a different kind of sweetness profile to it. Then you get one that's sort of a dried cherry where all that moisture is gone and there's a concentration of sugar, but it's more raisiny in quality. And then you get jams and confections and things where sugar's added. So there's that whole spectrum. And as you move kind of more along the line of that warmth element, you're indicating potentially where this might come from. So the fruit profile, if it's tart, it's probably going to come from something more of like a cool climate. If it's more on the riper side, raisiny side, cooked side, then you might be in a warmer climate. These are just, again, indications of where you might be. So if we said it's got all raisiny, jammy fruit, and I think it comes from cold climate Austria, you're probably not lining up what you're smelling and what you're guessing. So a little bit of menthol coming from Rachel, a minty note. That's a good indicator for me. There's two places that I've always kind of drawn to, sort of California, sometimes old Zinfandel, and in Australia, Shiraz. You pick up some of that menthol eucalyptus element. It's more on the ripe side for what Jan's noting, and Kathy's picking up a little bit of cedar, which would lead us from fruit then into earth and wood would be an indicator, or cedar would rather be an indicator of wood, and wood in this case, of course, not cedar, of oak, and oak aging. It is super complex. So we have a whole bunch going on, and all that complexity, generally also as you smell something with a layer upon layer of complexity like that, you should also consider whether or not this might be a blend. And if it's a blend, you can get complexity by way of the different varietals that are added to it and get a lot of variety. So if it's difficult to pin down one particular variety because you've got a spectrum of fruit character and of fruits themselves, a blend is an option. And this could have a blend note to it. There's like a, in the back end, the back of this kind of recessed behind all of that fruit, there's sort of a laurel bay leaf smell to me too. That's maybe a little bit of woodiness. Fresh cut cedar coming from John. Eric is picking up a little bit of mushroom element, so there's that earth element. So fruit, earth, and wood all are complete in this wine. Once again, referencing the complexity that Rachel noted. There's a bit of a butteriness too. I think Chris just noted. I missed that. I apologize, Chris. A touch of vanilla, also an indicator of wood. Wow, there's a lot going on here. So let's see what shows up on the palate as we taste this. And as you taste it first, think first and foremost about the taste versus the flavor, aromas, and profile. Is it very acidic? Is it tannic? Is it a robust wine, a moderate wine? Is it a light wine? Let's play in that realm first to try to help us zero in some of our assumptions based from the smell and the visual assessment. Jan's picking up mulch. Rachel's throwing out moist earth. This is for sure an April Fooler. I like that very much, Kathy. I think it's going to be a challenge. This is a lot of what you taste is what was on the nose, but woo, there's more there, isn't there? This is pretty tannic, moderate plus tannin. What do you think? Medium acidity. It's pretty robust. It has a little, it comes in a poof of smoke, like it comes in a big, and then sort of dissipates back. Kristen's saying it's got more acid up front and sort of tannins in the back. It's sort of recessed back based on an earlier decant, about a half an hour, so 45 minutes into the decanting right now. And thank you, Chris, for that question, which is more rhetorical, I think, in your case. Where did the fruit go? There is sort of this weird sensation of that tannin acid. There's not as much fruit. There's a tiny bit up front right in the beginning, and then there's a little bit kind of retronasal now coming back, but definitely not all the fruit that we were getting exploding out of the glass. It's fascinating. It's much more about the structure. in the wine on the palate than it is the flavors. And some of that for me, I think, as I'm tracing it, is about that tannin. Tannin seems to be kind of the smokescreen that's enveloped the whole of the experience. And Robert's picking up a little bit of bitterness, like a grapefruit pith, like a pithiness, a savory bitterness that isn't a bad thing, but is a dimensional element. We just put a new cocktail on the menu called Bitter Disposition, and it blends Suze, which is an aperitif from France, and Coqui Americano. So that kind of rely on bittering agents to give you this savory bitter element that is positive. You know, there's a quality about bitter. It's one of the tastes. It's one that you have to develop a character for, a taste, a palate for. The aroma is still just intriguing and fascinating. And Nicole and Stephen, as you're joining us, no problem for being late. Just hop into this glass. It's got a lot. We've talked a lot about the aroma, but then the palate is very different than the nose in terms of it's not giving as much dimension of fruit that you smell. It's explosive on the nose. Candy, the cocktail was named more after a song than after someone specific, although we were talking about it in our team meeting this evening, and we're talking about people who would enjoy that cocktail and people who like Negronis, for example. And one of our team members, Donna, said, well, it's for people who have been scorned and forlorn. It's for the second child. It's for those that have just had love dashed. And so this cocktail perhaps is named for all of those people as well. Rachel's throwing out some mocha powder. Neat. So kind of a cocoa element. You were saying coffee there before, but a coffee mocha element. Jan's throwing out at least a stake in the country, old world, and a little bit of France. The walnut skins is a really cool. There's an astringency to walnut skins and a little bitterness that comes from that, which we're referencing here too. The tannins are what's most fascinating, I think, on the palate, and all the fruit aromas what's most fascinating on the nose. Yeah, Kimberly, you're saying it's like light up front, and then it's heavier on the far side. And this has changed each of the tastes I've had, where the front one was more pronounced for the first taste, and then it's moved in the middle. It's kind of morphing. It's definitely dynamic. This wine is not going to be pinned down easy, and is certainly not revealing itself with any great sense of clarity. Kathy's initial thought was Spain. And yeah, jumping too fast can sometimes be a big problem. I get caught in that all the time. But I don't know. It's sometimes your intuition is telling you something right off the bat, which you should pay attention to. I was going Australia, but I think there's just too much variety and dimension. So I'm liking the French call. I'm liking the Spanish call. It just got a whole bunch earthier and meaty. A younger wine, 2017. I think that's, it's a younger wine for sure. Some of you got a little bit of tawny kind of color, which would be an indication of something more aged. I'm not picking up a bunch of that. Where's the alcohol at on this? Let's start to try to think about place with the structure. We got tannin, we had ripe profile of fruit. So thicker skin grape varietal, most likely. Is this a moderate, lighter, or more robust, kind of heavier wine? Is the alcohol in the 13s? Is it in the 14s? And if so, then that kind of potentially could help us go somewhere. Erica, your friends are saying Jersey. It's got a Southern Italian kind of, or rather a Jersey Italian kind of meatiness. Maybe. Caramel, creamy notes. Yeah, Candy, this wine just keeps giving more and more. So there's that oak profile coming through a little bit more. And I think everybody's sort of agreeing with the 13s. I think so too. There's not like a particular burn that comes from the alcohol. This wine just expands in your mouth, right? The tannin is all over. Sometimes tannin gets you in the gums, sometimes in the sides of the mouth a little bit. It's on the roof of my mouth. Like it's one thin sheet of tannin that has enveloped the entirety of the mouth. And what's, I won't say lacking, but what's a contrast in this wine is how thin the rest of it is throughout the experience. And I think that's kind of what a few of you noted. It's kind of bouncing around in intensity, which is neat. And I'm having a hard time kind of placing where that would come from. So we need something that's tannic and 13 or so % alcohol, so not super ripe, has all that fruit complexity, and is giving us some youthful character. So licorice, yeah, we got a little bit of licorice coming through. We had some before. Chris, you're saying young French wine, maybe Syrah. Yeah, and I mean, I think we have to kind of consider some Syrah. Anybody getting black pepper or anything like that, the meatiness is an indication. Some of that cherry quality. Rachel's saying right bank Bordeaux. Rachel, you getting any of that kind of plum element? Definitely not getting much of that kind of pyrazine quality, where it would be strong sort of Cabernet Franc. So maybe Merlot dominant. Blend, Candy asks. As I asked earlier too, I think that's a great question. Like, what if this was Syrah and Grenache? What if this is a sort of ripe-ish Rhone blend? Spain could have that kind of Garnacha, but it's not really in a Rhone bottle, is it? So, right bank Bordeaux. Like, what if we were talking about something like Rachel, not necessarily Pomerol or Saint-Emilion, kind of even Lalande de Pomerol, but satellite more up the river a touch and kind of Côte de Bourg, Côte de Blaye. There's a tannin quality about this wine that references that for me. Côte de Blaye and Côte de Bourg are sub-appellations of Bordeaux, where you'd have Merlot and you'd have tannin and power, but you wouldn't necessarily have as much pedigree. Mindy, you're getting black pepper? Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot. Kathy's throwing out Graciano Tempranillo, so kind of Rioja, Spain kind of element. Yes. Erica, GSM. Yeah, I was thinking that at the first part. And satellite kind of spot in Bordeaux. I think that's possible. I'm not finding the black pepper. It's just me. Petit Syrah, I don't know. Petit Syrah might have some of all that fruity character and definitely has some tannin. I think I would be expecting more jamminess, but I could be wrong in that. The tannin profile here is just a bit more structured than chewy, a bit more linear and angular than just voluminous, if that's a way that I can describe this. Nicole's thinking French. Summer's picking up black pepper. Thank you, Summer. Good. Which is why, yeah, some people are picking up black pepper, which could take you back to Syrah, could take you to intriguing Syrah, all that kind of mocha, cocoa, cherry element that we got initially, and that meatiness. Jan, yes, the taste does fall away. Like, the tannin lingers, the acidity is still kind of present, but the taste kind of dissipates. So this is a wine that packs a lot up front, bounces around in the mouth, and then sort of finishes, but leaves behind the tannin. I mean, I'm still holding on to some of that tannin. And that earthen note and that earthen element. If you're picking up, Eric, if you're picking up plum, that is a great indicator, I think, for some of the profile for Merlot. So I'm looking for other elements to see if they're coming out. Bobby Burst is picking up some Cab Franc, and that would kind of help us situate ourselves on the right bank in a Merlot Cabernet Franc blend. Carignan, absolutely something worth considering. Kathy, Carignan would give us some of that kind of rustic tannin. Would give us some of this profile. I think we'd get a little bit more red fruit than the darker fruit, but And Susan's asking about what would Spain blend with Merlot. I mean, we talk a number of times about kind of a Merlot-based blend from, say, kind of Priorat. We've worked with a wine before here, wines from Conca de Barbera, which is up in the northeastern part of Spain, and they blend Cabernet Franc and Merlot, and that's a beautiful wine. That'd be pretty cool if that was this. I think that has a little more stuffing than this, though, but that would be neat. And then there's that eucalyptus-y mentholy element, which Rachel, you have more experience in Bordeaux than I do, but I don't recall getting much of that mintiness from Bordeaux, although you can get some perhaps from the wood. And that's still shining through a tiny bit. What about South Africa? What about like a South African Merlot-based blend? You'd maybe get some of that mintiness there, some of this warmth. Gosh, I'm all over the map. We've got right bank Bordeaux. We've got Syrah potentially blend. We've got a Syrah itself, but Syrah blend being kind of Carignan and Syrah, Sanso Syrah. We could have a Merlot-based blend from other places outside of Bordeaux, including South Africa or Spain. Christian's saying it's got some newer profiles, so not necessarily as developed quality to it, but a Cab Franc Merlot blend. Gosh, I thought Australia at first too. There's the tannin, there's the acid, there's all that fruit up front. So it's got to be a place that can give you all those elements, and then it's what grows in that place, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about this right now. So you could get this. I think you could get most of these aromas in Bordeaux. I think you could get most of these aromas in sort of southeastern France, in the Rhone. I think you could get them from South Africa. I think you could get them from Spain. I think we might get a little bit more raisiny quality. I mean, we got some of that dried fruit, but there's some we're noting early on to sort of a mineral quality, right? And I don't know that mineral element would be as much Spain, unless we were talking about gosh, yeah, the Tempranillo Graciano part, I don't know that we get as much minerality. So what do you think, folks? Where should we go? 2017, 2018, kind of play with. I like the Merlot Cabernet Franc kind of Bordeaux blend. I think more than I like the Rhone blend because of the tannin. There's just this persistence of it. Kathy's going back to France. Okay. Asking about violets. Anybody picking up violets? Chris, you got no clue. I'm still with you in the no clue camp. I'm more definitive and comfortable in the no clue camp than I am in the any other camp. But I think I'm just willing myself down a particular path to get to a camp at this point. So Rachel, you're going to go 2017 right bank sort of satellite Bordeaux. I think that is an option. Is that your final kind of stake? Kathy, where are you going to go in France? Mindy knows she likes it, and that's that's the only and most important point of the whole experience by a long shot. Gosh, it's kind of picking up a little bit of a soy character right now, and it keeps changing. So as simple as it is on the finish in terms of its kind of quick, short finish, it just keeps giving more and more dimension in the aroma. It's just like an aroma factory. Knobs, what do you guys think? What are you picking up? Erica, where are you at? Susan, what are you getting? Chris is throwing out young French, maybe Burgundy. I think we got too much tannin for Burgundy, but I'd be surprised. I mean, I would learn something for sure if it was. Kathy threw out Malbec and then kind of moved away with it, wondering whether she should go back toward Malbec. It does, so you're thinking French Malbec. I mean, it has a rusticity of tannin that way. Erica sold on France. So are you in kind of the Rhone or in Bordeaux or Burgundy as Chris is throwing out there? Côte de Castillon. Cool. Okay. So definitely satellite. Brian and Sarah flip-flopping on regions, but comfortable in France. I would be very comfortable kind of in a French satellite kind of guess. And I'm going right and back and forth between my desire to kind of pull a sort of coastal influenced South African Bordeaux blend and back to Bordeaux. But we got like a good dollop of wood profile. We got the tannin. So the varietals are presenting, there's just this kind of middle of the wine that is a little bit aerated and kind of less dense. And so maybe that's just about it being sort of a satellite site and not necessarily one that has such a concentration, maybe a little bit younger vines. Okay. French Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot blend. Most people are kind of in France. 18, maybe 19 young. And Eric is saying it's not South Kakalaki. Kathy's going Malbec, France. So a little Cahors perhaps. And the Gironde coast. Yeah, cool, Rachel. I like that idea. 2018. I think I'll go there too. So let's do, I'm going to do let's say Côte de Blaye, Côte de Bourg, something like that. 2018 Bordeaux blend. Merlot dominant, Cabernet Franc, maybe a little Cabernet Sauvignon, probably a little bit of Petit Verdot too, kind of tossed in there. Last taste just to mull this for another second because yeah, there's like when you just saw through a piece of wood, there's that kind of quality to it, where the wood is both hot and you get the shaving there. It's a definite fooler. All right. So most people Merlot-based France, 1718 young wine. It's got a Bordeaux bottle, so before I kind of do that, right, that's what you're looking to see here. And that kind of high-sided, high-shouldered bottle is a Bordeaux bottle, which is excellent in kind of helping to determine the shape and region potentially. And that's kind of neat. So we have that idea. You did it. Nice job, Kathy. This is Malbec from Cahors, 2018, Clos de la Coutale, which is great. This is also known as a Côte de Quelques Places, which I love, Kate. Thank you. So a coat from somewhere, and 14.5% alcohol, right? 14.5% alcohol. This is wearing that pretty well. This is an interesting little Malbec. So we're in sort of the right region in terms of the most of us kind of guessing sort of southwestern France, Bordeaux varietal. It's a Bordeaux varietal, but you nailed it, Kathy. Well done. That tannin is pretty pronounced, and you can get that from Malbec, especially in that presentation. And we were right about the vintage, so 2018. Yep, Summer loves it because Summer loves Malbec, which is great. I'm glad you liked it, Summer. Yeah, it's a cool wine, right? It's really neat that southwestern France for sure makes a ton of wine, more wine than most of all of France. But some of those appellations that we're getting a chance to try thanks to Tony and his selections for us here, most people don't drink on a regular basis, and so it's great to see the wines like this. This is a wine that you'd want to keep for a little while too. That tannin would soften and dissipate. I would want to keep it open for a little while too. It seems kind of like bulletproof, that its profile is not going to be weakened by a little aeration and time, and I think that's pretty cool. It's going to give us the opportunity to see what this wine can do over time. But the first experience right out of the bottle, like as soon as opening, was just so intoxicating. It's such a pretty special wine. Dark color, violets in the nose. When Kathy was fishing for violets, she was fishing for Malbec, and that earthiness. So you had Malbec kind of on the mind right off the bat. You got to go with your instinct, which is great. Your instinct is always pretty sound in these things too. Kimberly, who are these most peoples? Not referring to you. You're not the most people. The most people don't join us on this wine chat. We are a special elite group of mystery wine blind tasters, and that's not most people. So this is lots of fun. I think we were looking at today. I think next week is the actual 1 year anniversary of doing this for 365 days or 52 weeks, which is pretty spectacular. I look forward to getting to do it with you again next week. So until then, enjoy this Malbec, leave it open for a bit, see where it takes you, or finish it all right now. It's up to you. But either way, thanks, and just know that I enjoyed spending this Thursday with you and look forward to seeing you next. Thanks for all of you for joining. See you then.